Hey everybody, welcome. Cutting it close this morning, but welcome to practice and our YIN Sunday. Um, Hi, 6 people watching. That's what it says. 6 people watching. That's nice. Feel free to shoot me a note. I am going to paste the playlist here for you guys. It's actually a little different today. So if you go to my Spotify or if you're following me on Spotify, you'll see the playlist for Sunday. I think it's called Yin Ocean. I already forget. But basically, just some sounds, some sweet sounds that kind of put us at ease to accompany us for our practice today. Playlist is today's date. It should be at the top there. It should be public, so please go and grab that if you'd like to practice with some sweetness. I know this might be a tall order for some, but if you have 3 blocks or 3 stacks, you can also get a really kind of taller hardcover book. I'm not promising that everybody will need it, but depending on where we hit something and we're like, oh, I'd like a little more support. So 3 stacks, 3 rolled up towels. I'll give it about another 3 minutes if you're joining live to gather that stuff. And you can wear socks, you can get cozy, you can have your tea, whatever it is that brings a kind of solace to your Sunday. I invite you to incorporate that in our practice today. We're going to get started in about 3 minutes, just a little wee late, so we can give us time to gather what we need. Hi, Paul Fox. Thank you. And we'll be back this week with some practices. Wednesday will be the next one after today, and then Sunday, and then Friday, and then Sunday. So Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday live classes at 8 a.m. Pacific and 11 a.m. Eastern. Hi, Mom. Two more minutes for those still gathering things that they need. I also brought my little sweater nearby because sometimes it could be cozy to put something under a knee if the floor is a little tough on your knees. Hope you guys are feeling good this Sunday. Feeling sweetness. That's what Sundays feel for me in general. So when I say solace into your Sunday, I mean it. Whatever needs to be there to make that happen. Hey, Diane, so good to have you. Diane, we're back at 11 a.m. Eastern. So hopefully that works for you and you can join lots and lots and lots. Okay, guys, we're going to get started. So for those, and I know that some people joining have some issues with their knees, the first posture that we're going to get started with is a sit on our knees. So to lessen what's happening with the knees, if you have any kind of towel or softness that you want to put underneath, you can do that, right? You saw me grab for that. You can grab your stacks. Maybe it's one, or maybe it's two, and you can put them underneath your seat, in between your legs and in between your feet, so that you can sit up and get a little bit of something through the legs, right? A little bit of sensation and a little bit of something through the ankles. Now, no joke, I've seen people sit up on 3 blocks, right? That doesn't make you silly or inflexible per se. That just means you're meeting the moment in your body, right? And you're making things possible by way of support rather than hitting a wall and making things impossible. And then you're going to grab your playlist if you're working with that, and I'm going to count it down. And on the count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, hit play. And the props are there to support you, whatever those props may be. It's the first lesson that we always have to revisit at the start of our practice. And then I want you to take a big breath in, and as you exhale, perhaps close your eyes and part your upper jaw and your lower jaw away from one another. And then we're going to become attentive to our breath. So the real practice of mindfulness is not to shut things down or avoid what's there, but to notice and become attentive to it. And at the same time as we notice, we're also able to let go, especially in the way of thoughts or stories that develop off those thoughts, which provide, in a way, a kind of distraction. So as you inhale, you can notice the inhale, even if you give it the word inhale. And as you exhale, you can notice the exhale, even if you give it the word exhale. If you lose a little bit of track of the inhale and the exhale, just kind of start again. And when you start again, and if you start again, just notice your body and the feeling of your body to the mat, and the feeling of your sit bones to the support of the mat or your props. And the feeling of your spine long. And your shoulders soft away from your ears. You may be able to feel for a little bit more openness in your body. And if you have 3 blocks or 2 blocks, that may mean getting rid of one of your props to drop down into a more challenging space of sensation. Following the inhale right from its beginning. Being with the pause in between the inhale and exhale. Letting the exhale go and following it out. And being with the pause at the bottom of the exhale. To follow the inhale right from the beginning. To follow the exhale right from the beginning. If your eyes are still closed, you can softly open them. So softly means they don't have to be piercing with focus or super alive. Let your exhale go whenever you find that exhale. And then you're going to lift your butt off your heels or your prop. Remove your prop if that's what you have. And then come over to either side to bring your legs out in front in a little stretch. And as you stretch your legs long, also bring them wide. With your legs wide, maybe you play with walking your heels even wider. And then setting up your hands on either side of you and kind of walking your sit bones back a little more into your ground as you lean your heart forward. And then grounding your sit bones down to sit up tall in that spine. And we'll be here for just a bit of time. Remembering to follow the inhale and to follow the exhale. If your eyes are softly closed, just softly open them. And then bringing your hands out in front of you in between your legs. And with as long of a spine as possible, starting to walk your hands forward and hinge a little bit at the hips. And check out your way down to feel a sensation on your inside of your legs through the inseam and up towards the groin area for that stretch. You may notice that you've already reached where you need to be. And so if that's you, you want to pile your stacks up as high as you can to meet where you are so that you can support yourself. And again, you can change the height of the stacks to reflect where your body is at. Even maybe resting your head either through the chin or the forehead in that fold. And again, you want to go to your point of sensation where things feel like a decent stretch in your body. Try and relax in the legs enough so that, yes, your legs are long and more straight than not, but there isn't a kind of angry charge in the legs to make that happen. So whatever your version in your body is of long and straighter legs without too much effort here. If you feel any strain in your lower back, you might have gone too far. So you just might need to pile your props a little higher to meet you at the moment of sensation that isn't pain. You can follow your inhale to name your inhale, inhale. You can follow your exhale to name your exhale, exhale. No stress about this. If you lose track, just begin again. If your eyes are closed, just allowing for that soft opening so you can be present to how to get out of the pose. You might lift your head slow and soft, And then find a little bit of pressure or grounding through the hands and arms to get your spine back up to erect. And you can totally land with the transition and the change in your body. And the release of sensation from that stretch. And just feel for any space that you opened up. And then you might scoop your hands behind your knees and pick up your knees to bend your legs slow, so that you can bring the soles of the feet together in a kind of prayer, and so that you can let your knees fall wide in your Badakanasana butterfly pose. Now, this may look different than it looks when you take this pose on your back body. For example, my knees seem to be a little higher. There's a little less flexibility. So you can prop your stacks, whatever they may be, on either side of your knees. And then you want to keep your spine really long. So if you have trouble with that, you may have to put yourself up against a wall. Or in my case, I'm going to use my third stack and put it right close to my butt to remind my spine behind me to be tall. And then as you put your hands maybe to your ankles or to your shins or toes, just be aware that you're not gripping with your fingers, that there's a kind of softness that allows to show up, to rest your hands, and to rest your arms, and thus to rest your shoulders. If you're not accustomed to sitting up tall for yourself, this is going to feel like a bit of effort in your lower spine. But sitting up tall is great for our spine and for our abdomen. So maybe just showing around yourself to that challenge. While feeling for that challenge that may be in your lower spine, maybe you let go of any challenge in your knees. They can be heavy and melt towards the systems of support that may be your stacks. Or maybe you're completely open and your legs and your thighs are meeting your ground. Whatever it is, follow the inhale and name the inhale. And follow the exhale and name the exhale. For the last little bit of time here, about 1.5 minutes, almost 2 minutes, we're going to enter a little rounding of the spine to open up the whole of the spine. So you might check in with your knees and your inner thighs, and if there's a little bit more openness, you might take your props away from supporting your outer thighs and outer knees. And then with one of your props, in preparation of rounding your spine, you could stand up that prop on your feet or on the insides of your feet or just ahead of your toes. And then you can start to round and figure out where your head might meet your prop, and then adjust your prop accordingly. This should help you open across your upper back body and then all along the vertebrae to equal more space, in between each little vertebrae along the way. Again, if you're feeling too much strain rather than sensation in your lower back, it may be the case that your rounding in the spine and your drop of the head has gone. So you can always layer a second prop on top of the prop that is underneath your head, so that you can meet the system of support there. Surrender yourself to your systems of support. Your sit bones on your mat, your knees heavy and open into the space of gravity, your head, your forehead heavy onto your props or into the space of gravity. Travel through 2 more breaths in your shape in this asana. Asana meaning seat as it relates to our yoga pose. You can take your hands to secure your, so that you can start to round up out of the spine to pick up your head off your prop or out of the space of gravity to erect your spine tall. You want to meet that place and pause. And then help your knees and your thighs close like a book, breathing that in and out. And we're going to take ourselves onto tabletop. And as you get into that tabletop, I want you to use 2 of your props underneath your hands in your tabletop. If you have a third prop, just leave it ahead of you so that you can eye it. And then just with a long spine and tabletop, no arch, no dipping of the pelvic floor. Just take an inhale. And then round your spine slow into cat to exhale. And then from the round, then arch your spine and dip your pelvic floor very subtly into cow. Breathe in. And then go long and neutral. Breathe out. Tuck your toes in. Downward face dog. Now, a lot of the time in your yang practice, from down dog, there'll be the ask to step the foot forward, and you're like, how do I do that? I can't get my foot forward all the way. I don't have the space or the strength to fluidly do that. Well, if you put blocks underneath your hands, you might just create enough space to do it in one step without helping your leg forward. So you're going to take an inhale with your legs as is in down dog. And then you'll micro bend both legs and step your right foot forward in between the block. And put your left knee down and create an undulé low lunge and walk your back knee a little further back. Again, if you want to prop underneath that knee for support, you can use your sweater. And then you'll walk your right side block to the inside of your right foot and heel toe, toe heel your right foot wider. If this is too much strain with the blocks, maybe you step up the height of the blocks to come to you. Your right big toe can be turned out ever so slightly to maybe 1 o'clock. And your back toe can tuck in if there's any pull or pinch in the left knee. In this lizard pose, we're here initially for the first step of this for a minute. It's common to be overwhelmed by the sensation or discomfort of our body. But it's also okay and totally possible to practice even more so the focus of breath, noticing the inhale and noticing the exhale, so that we're less inclined to follow the distraction of any discomforts that we feel. Has sensation been a friend to you? Has it opened up? Could you, after this minute, walk your forearms down to your props? Again, you can create a height on your props that brings your forearms to meet. And if you can feel for a space to let your head hang heavy, you can add that on with a third stack. Or you might just let it hang heavy into space. Be with 2 more breaths. Soften any grips in the jaws or fingers. To come out of this is the same way we entered. You lifting your head, you walking off your forearms high, and then pausing here to slowly press into your hands to guide your hips back into space. Like you're moving your hips through thick, delicious honey to eventually straighten your front leg and ground into your right heel. Flip your front toes up and fold in a kind of half Hanuma. Enjoy a couple of breaths here. And then come back forward through the hips to bend your right leg and ground your right foot onto the floor. And as you ground your right foot onto the floor, back toes need to be curled under now. You might adjust your blocks to receive the whole flat of your hands. And then you're going to slowly pick up your hips, straighten both legs. Pause here. Again, micro bend your front leg, right foot flat on the ground, and quietly kind of step into downward face dog again. And you can wag your tail by pedaling your heels, one heel at a time for the ground. One sip at a time, up and then down. Good, guys. And then we're going to take ourselves with the same leg into pigeon. You're going to step the right knee kind of to the outside of your right pinky or block. And then you're going to walk your left leg back so that you can get into pigeon pose. Now it's okay to find your fit. In fact, it's super duper recommended. So pigeon may be more proud, Or because we're in a yin practice, it may be more swan-like. So swan versus pigeon means that you lean over to your right side and you might even create a micro bend on the left leg to rest the inseam of the left leg to the mat. So there's a more relaxed state and offering to your pigeon. And then you might just be able to lie down your heart on the floor or prop it underneath with blocks. Underneath, I should say. A variety of offerings comfortable in where you are. Remember to commit to following the inhale and following the exhale. Right from the moment of their beginning to their end. Again, if you lose track or start to follow a story from a thought, just begin again and just really attentive to the simplicity of breathing. We're still here for a little bit of time. If you've released deep into your sensation, you might be able to remove your stacks of support so that you can enter a deeper expression of your pose. Take 2 more breaths wherever you may be in your asana, in the seat of this pose. And starting to rise up your head. If you're in swan, you'll want to roll off of that right hip to a more pigeon expression of the pose. And then you'll want to prepare your blocks to support you en route to a downward dog. You can curl your back toes under and walk your knee in. Pick up your hips and up you go into down dog. And enjoy the honesty of your body asserting that your right leg is way longer than your left. You can wag your tail, bend out your legs. 1 more breath. And then from here, with your hands grounded on your block, step your left foot in between your block, trying for 1 big step, bringing your right knee down, walking your right knee further back. If you need to prop up that knee, you can do that with a little towel, sweater, whatever is creating solace from that knee grounding to the floor in any painful way. And then if you need to bring the floor to you, you might prop up your blocks higher. There's so many options here for supporting your practice. And then as you get the height on your block, walk your left block to the inside of your left foot. Heel toe your left foot a little wider out. Maybe pointing your left big toe out to about 11 o'clock. And we'll hang out here for about a minute. Follow your breath. Just follow that breath. That's your only to do. Checking in with your flexibility and whatever may have opened even a little bit. Is it possible to walk onto the forearms, onto your props at the height that you have them at, or unless you know there's space to walk even further down? And then is it possible to add on a kind of open space in your neck body by hanging your head heavy or resting it on a prop? Can you feel the pockets of space in your body that just got a little more spacious by taking on this pose? And can you send the breath that you're following into those pockets of spaces of your body? You might be able to feel the wisdom of the breath in your body, offering yourself the potential to relax here, completely relax. From the point of a next exhale, just let it become audible, as though you're letting everything go. And then to come out of this is the same way we came in. So you start by picking up your head slow. And then grounding that stack so he doesn't fall over. And then you'll walk up your hands onto your props so that you're not on your forearms anymore. And then you're going to curl your back toes under and ground through the hands on your props so that you can slowly usher your hips back by pressing into your hands and slowly getting out of a deep bend in the front leg and moving your hips like they're moving through honey. So there's this slow and steady thing happening to eventually straighten the front leg and to eventually ground into the left heel, to flip the front toes up and to stay here in Half Hanuma for about 3 breaths. And then bending the left leg again, right? Pressing down through the whole of the left foot. Grounding onto your hands. They can be on the block. You might change the height of the block so the whole of the hands are there. And as you pick up your hips, high, you're straightening both legs. So you're into the ball of the right foot, the whole of the left foot, and grounding into your left heel and feeling a stretch here for 3 and 2. Micro bend your front leg and step into downward face dog. And wag your tail just a bit. And then with that same leg, step the knee, the left knee, to the outside of the left hand, outer block, outer pinky finger, and walk yourself into a proud pigeon to start. And you can soften into a sleeping pigeon, which would walk your heart all the way down to whatever lands So maybe it's forearms on the props, dropping your heart. And if you want a more relaxed version of pigeon, you'll take swan and you'll lean over to the left side. Inseam of the right leg is on the mat. And a little light bending of the back leg so that you can lie down and soften down. Sometimes it's a little bit of fussing to feel for what you need to make it all very possible. Remember to find the seat of your pose. It's called asana, which means seat. So in finding that, you've really got to allow your props to support you. As you relax your body heavy towards the systems of support here, whether they're your props or straight onto your mat, just noticing if there's any give to go deeper, maybe removing the props from underneath you to let your heart, your head, anything fall heavier towards the floor and towards the space of gravity. So what comes up or goes up must come down. So we get out of our poses the same steps in. You'll lift your head, and then you'll walk your heart up. And if you're in swan, you'll turn your right hip in and down and get off of the inseam of the leg. To proud pigeon. And then we'll put our hands on our props. Probably the lowest height on the props is the best way to fit the whole of your hands. And curl your back toes under, maybe walk your knee in. And then you can step out and back into downward dog. From here, whether you tiptoe or big step, start to walk your feet to the kind of outside of the blocks and outside of your hands. And then stand up your stacks a little higher. And then start to bend your legs, fan your toes out, and sit your butt into space. And just like when we started in Hero's Pose, Virasana at the top of the class, your butt can easily be supported by your stacks, even if it means removing one of your stacks if you're only working with two from your hands, right? And just feeling the sit here. That may be a little different than it normally is for you because of the work we've done to open up our hips. Find an erect spine. Find the softness of your sit bones meeting gravity or your prop. And whenever it's right for you, if that time comes, if it's ever the case that you don't need the support under your seat, maybe you explore that. Just a little bit of a little over a minute here. Whenever you can find an audible exhale, let that be your last exhale in this shape. And then taking your hands, maybe with your props in your hands, behind you to help you sit onto your butt. And lengthen your legs long and wide for final Shavasana. Now, as we make our way into final Shavasana, some people with their back onto the floor get a little achy, especially after some practices that delve into the spine and hips. So if you feel any kind of strain in your lower back as you lie down, you can take your stacks or your props, micro bend your legs, and you can put your props or your stacks at a low, low height underneath your thighs, about a foot away from your butt cheeks, so that it just lifts a little bit of your legs off the ground to ground your lower spine. And then you'll want to face your palms up and soften in your neck body with a light tuck of your chin to make your neck long. And close your eyes. And if you're with this playlist, let the oceans take you away. and follow your breath. Namaste, everybody.